right, of these men who's apparently getting their passports and they're leaving. They going elsewhere to find their wives because they can't put up with us. I'm just wondering who the hell asked them? Did we ask them? Why do they feel the need to announce their departure? We don't want to know. We don't care. In fact, we're happy for you. We'll help you pack. If you're doing that, it screams cowardly to me. But trust me, this is not an L for us. This is a W. Nobody's targeting men. Nobody's targeting black men. We're targeting misogynists. And women are finally fed up and holding men accountable.
As someone who has lived in other countries for a number of years, let me tell you, black men are the only one doing this. Men of all races are doing this. This practice has been going on for so long. It's only the broke black men who out here clout chasing and who think they're really doing some new shit are the ones who are talking about it. I'm gonna tell you what the real lick is. The men who can afford to go over there, put them a wife in a house, keep her over there, and still maintain back in the States. That's the lick, okay? Like I said, the only reason why this is a trend now is because all the broke boys who couldn't afford it 20, 30, 40 years ago have the money, or they think they have it,
and is going out here saying, fuck American women, more so the black ones, because they're going overseas to get their wife. We're too annoying in America. We want too much money, X, Y, and Z. All right, cool. This video is specifically for women in other countries. Thailand, Vietnam, anywhere in the fucking Caribbean, India, wherever you at besides the fucking United States. I've done this video before, but I'm not going to waste your time and resources for you to kind of like search for this shit and nobody answered. But we're going to try this again. Because apparently it don't cost much. And how they presented it, they damn sure ain't using no motherfucking money. It ain't no Benjamins, no Frank, Abraham, Jackson, whatever. So I need to understand, what is it, how do these American men take care of y'all? I mean, is it a dowry? Are they coming to your people with gold? Do y'all exchange like fucking cattle? Are they paying you with cryptocurrencies? Do they leave y'all letters with fucking IOUs? Please enlighten the American women. Because apparently these men just think y'all cheap. And it's just too easy to get a passport and bring y'all back over here because y'all ain't about no money. But I know, y'all foreign women, y'all don't play when it comes to them fucking coins.
So, scrolling on TikTok this morning, honey, it seemed like every other video is a man saying he tired of y'all bitches, he getting his passport ready, and he going to another country so he can get him a woman. I done told y'all bitches, when I was in Jamaica last week, honey, every other couple was a black man with a different race of woman, Spanish, Asian, white, girl. Honey, please, y'all better focus on the right shit. Y'all better start taking care of your man, because honey, they are leaving and leaving y'all asses in the dirt. Y'all keep focusing on these wigs and these BBLs and all this other goddamn bullshit instead of focusing on taking care of your man and making sure he's pleased and happy. Girl, please get the fuck out of my face. That bullshit. Y'all better stop that bullshit. They are serious. They
single black men out there that keep hollering about they going out of the country to get them a wife. Y'all want me to talk? Y'all baby mama say, y'all better sit y'all ragged asses down because you owe child support. And they don't let y'all get no passports. So it don't look like y'all going nowhere. So you might want to sit down and be content and do right and find you a black girl right here in these great United States, because they ain't letting y'all ass.
I'm gonna go overseas and get me a foreign girl. Just to let you know that even though, yes, they may be nicer, yes, they may be more submissive and prettier, but they're going to look up to you to be the main provider for her whole family. Her kids if she got any, her aunts, her uncles, her brothers, her sisters, her 50-some cousins, everybody.
Black men, black men, black men. I hate to bust your bubble, and I hate to break your delusion, but these women overseas don't want y'all. They want the Chris Browns. They want the Trey Songz. They want the black men that have money. Let me tell you what y'all do. Y'all pretend to be executives. You pretend like you have money. And so because they only see the majority of black folks on camera, y'all go over there with these fake Louis Vuitton bags and these Jordans and your US dollars, and you go over there and you act like you have some money.
All y'all black men talking about y'all finna lead the country because y'all sick of black women and y'all sick of our attitudes and y'all sick of our masculinity and y'all sick of us having to take care of ourselves. Guess what? We don't give a fuck. Bye. Because we want white men anyway.
So today I'm talking to you about this trend that men, Western men, are looking overseas to other countries for women because the women in Western culture have been poisoned by toxic femininity. They are militant with their feminist ways. They can't even appreciate a compliment from a nice gentleman. You see, you say, "Hey, beautiful," to me, and I'm gonna wink and smile. But these girls can't handle that. So men are going overseas to find love. Where in the world are they going? Is it Indonesia? Is it South America? Where are men going?
So men are saying they're getting their passport because there aren't enough fit, feminine, and friendly women to choose from. And instead of looking in the mirror and asking ourselves if we would make great wives to these men, we would much rather shame them and guilt them into staying with our mediocre asses. Ma'am, if you're not fit, feminine, or friendly, then you're not what these men want. Shut your ass and go to the gym. Like, do we see how toxic we are?
I could go to Brazil and do the same goddamn thing. You feel what I'm saying? I would blend in. You feel what I mean? It wouldn't be no, ooh, where's she from? Nah, I would be in Brazil. You know what I'm saying? Hey, boo-boo. Portuguese. You know what I'm saying? Bitch, get on somewhere with this shit. Y'all gonna be mad because we about to cock block on y'all asses. Y'all passport bros. I get it. Y'all thought y'all was gonna be going down to Brazil. You thought you was gonna be in the Dominican Republic, taking these pictures, trying to throw it in our face about how fine their women are. Excuse me, sir. We know they fine. We seen their men. Now you really about to be mad. You and the bitch gonna be mad. Because guess what the black American woman is gonna do? Bitch, fuck them. We about to take you, nigga. Come on, boo-boo. You wanna go back to America? Fuck them. Keep them. Yeah, so guess what? We'll do a trade. We will do a trade. Y'all gonna be mad as a bitch. Y'all gonna be mad as a bitch.
What's up? Welcome back to the broadcast, man. We're gonna have a good time, man. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night. Shout out to all my folks in Australia, man. I know you guys got truck drivers down there that love me for whatever, man. Good night, Mike. Well, look, man, welcome back. So what's going on? Well, you know, apparently, as you guys see from that intro, the cat is out of the bag. Or, I don't know how they say that saying. The cow's out of the barn, and they recognize that modern men are ghosting these entitled modern women. Okay, that's what's happening. So anytime you get women of all ethnicities in an uproar, that means it's hit mainstream. And so we have to expect a response. And on top of that, it's going to become a trend, which means you're going to have a lot more men going overseas. All right. If for nothing else, just to see what the other guys are doing. Now, before we get started, I want to give a big shout out to, let's see who we got here. All my ranch mob, Mr. Albert, Mahai Twin, Chukwu Igwe. Oh, look, my Nigerian brothers, I want y'all to hang around. I want you to make sure you're here because we're going to talk about some cultural stuff. All my brothers from all my Latin American homeboys, I want you guys to hang in there, man. Colombia, Dominican Republic, Mexico, wherever. I want you to hang in. We're going to talk about fallacy. And I may have you guys call in too. Urban Eagle, big shout out to you. EMT 888, Mr. Albert, Daryl J. Who else we got in here, man? All of my ranch mob. Let me give a big shout out to my Brasileiro Rose Hilton, family member. What's happening, family? I'm gonna start calling family members. If you join my membership, you family. And so welcome to the membership, man. Appreciate you guys. Wrench Turner, shout out to you too. Thank you so much, man. Hit the number 1 button. Oh, we got some early contributions. Shout out to my $10 squad. What's happening, baby? Who is that? Brasileiro, Mr. Hilton, and Urban Eagle. Big shout out to you guys, man. So look, here's the thing, bro. It's hit mainstream, and unlike everybody else, I want to give you guys something that you can actually walk away with that's going to be useful to you. All right. You don't need anybody to tell you where to go because you got plenty of people doing that. All right. You don't need anybody to tell you what language they speak when they get there because, you got plenty of people doing that. What I'm going to do is add some texture to this conversation. Now, I'm going to speak generally to all men because this is a all men conversation. So shout out to the Hispanic, white, my African-American brothers, all my brothers in the UK. Shout out to the folks up in Norway because for some reason, people in Scandinavia actually tune into what I'm saying. So I wanted to make sure I brought you guys in. Shout out to all my folks in Norway. And big shout out to y'all, man. Y'all keep the weed smoking up there. I know that. But the Scandinavians, it's a lot to be said that's going on because it's not just American men, and it's not just Black American men, white men from the United States, white men from the UK, British men specifically, Scandinavian men. They are ghosting these entitled modern women. Okay? Now, as far as Black American men, and the reason I want to bring them up is because, well, we're the canary in the coal mine. That's it. Now, as far as we're concerned, game's over. It's a wrap. The culture that was forced upon us was a culture that was derived from bigotry, slavery in the United States, right? It's still very much a patriarchy. However, it's a patriarchy that caters to the matriarchy. And on top of that, Black men in these countries, we don't run these countries. In fact, the government runs these countries. The government is in charge. And I'm talking about the US. So let me say all this to say this. It's not Black men's fault that the culture is the way it is. But the truth of the matter is, if this was a war, we lost it. That's it. And here's the other thing. Despite how much we like to blame and cast it upon women, for the most part, with a little nuance in here and there, it's not necessarily their fault. They are simply doing what female nature tells them to do. They are the spoils of war. He basically, the government, whatever, society, took what was yours. Now, here's the thing. Black men in the United States. What happens when you lose a war? The same thing that happens when you lose a game. You get off the field, you get off the court. The government won, and it's time for modern men to exit the field. I think this applies to all modern men, but specifically Black American men. If you're still fighting this war, you're a fool. That's like trying to score touchdowns after the referee has blown the whistle to end the fourth quarter and call the game. It's over. There's nothing left to do but exit the field and go prepare for the next game. And that's why you have the rise of modern men ghosting entitled modern women. Now, again, this is a conversation for all men. Black men are the canary in the coal mine. We got the short stick of what the government was offering back in the 1960s. It didn't begin to happen to white men and men of other cultures until the 1990s, when you had the rise of no-fault divorce. Now, back to Black men. We have a family-first culture. The Latin brothers and sisters refer to it as fallacy. Our African brothers in Nigeria and other parts of West Africa, they have another name for it. Omenala. Basically, they loosely translate to family first. We have a family first culture. Or we had one, but we failed to defend it and preserve it. Here's the problem. At this point, it's just a dysfunctional culture. And it's foreign to us, and it no longer works. Now, again, we blame, as Black men, modern Black American women. But again, they are spoils of war. Now, I mentioned earlier that there's a nuanced answer to that, because remember, they were the first during the late 60s to be used as agents against us. So now the family no longer includes the father. The family is a woman and the children. How has that affected us in the Black community? Look at every statistic from the 1950s to 2020. The Black family unit has deteriorated. We went from the most married group of people in the United States to the least married group of people in the United States. We went from owning our own businesses, having our own universities, taking care of our own, having extended families, to what we have now. Now, for the greater society, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm certain that this applies not only just to the United States, but also to the UK, Australia, Canada, and many of the Western European countries. You too have a family-first culture. You also have a patriarchy. However, that patriarchy is funded, that patriarchal society empowers the matriarchy. And this is the problem that we have. It's not a true patriarchy. See, we in Black America, we say we're living in a matriarchy, but again, it's a matriarchy powered by the patriarchy. It's a stripped down, bastardized shell of the matriarchy. See, the reason that I say that is because normally in a matriarchal culture, the family is prioritized. But again, what we have here in the United States is not a family. Now, I say this all the time, and I want to talk to my Latino brothers and my African brothers, but specifically my African American brothers. As of late, there's been what I see as a division amongst the diaspora. What do I mean by that? Because of cultural differences, language differences, we are beginning to see each other as a different people, even though outsiders look at us pretty much as the same. When I say outsiders, I'm referring to non-black people. When they see a Nigerian man and they see a brother from Alabama who look like he just got from the motherland, they don't necessarily see it different. Nevertheless, we have now the rise of FBA, ADOS, which used to be Black and American, which before that was Afro-American, before that was Negro, Negro-American, all these different terms. But the bottom line is, I understand our brothers and sisters are looking for their own identity. But what you have to understand is that we are greater together. That's what I'm telling you. And one of the things that we can learn from being together is our African brothers' cultures, where they do put family first. There's a lot we can learn, not only from our African brothers and their patriarchal cultures, but also our Latino brothers and cousins. And there's a lot we can learn from. Being at odds with them puts you away, puts you out of the family, puts you out of the group. It puts you away from the classroom. And we, as Black men, we need patriarchal archetypes to begin to pattern ourselves after, especially since we are planning to go back to these countries, or that's what we are saying we're going to do. So here's the thing. The men running the government and the men, or let me say it like this, men running government and men not running homes is different from cultures where men run both. In these Latin American countries and these African countries, the men run both the home and the government. America's patriarchy empowers this society's matriarchy, irrespective of color, race, or religion. Black men or Black women use the government. White women use the government. They use it to control and strip men of their wealth, power, position, and children oftentimes. And the one who controls the children is the one who is in charge. That's it. Now, the unique problem addressing or facing Black men is that the men who run the government have had a lot too much to say, or way too much to say, as far as what happens in Black American homes. Why? Well, it's because the laws and how the corporate and government policies are set up keeps Black women financially independent of Black men. In addition, it keeps you they replace you for their security needs, their financial needs, their employment needs. They can go to the government. And so there's absolutely no way you can keep Black American women in a respectful position as far as how they address you. Now, here's the funny thing. Our African brothers and our Latino cousins, even our Afro-Latino brothers living here in America, seem not to have had that same problem. So what does that tell you, my Black American brothers? It tells me that they have done a much better job at preserving their healthy and constructive cultural ways than we have. Now, largely, they are going through the same things that Black American men are going through, maybe at a different rate, but they're still dealing with it the same way. Our African brothers began to come here in the 1980s in droves. The Latinos have been here since before we got here, as they are the descendants of the Native Americans. They've had to undergo through the crime, the crack era. They've had to endure the welfare. Their women have been empowered, yet they're dealing with it in a lot better ways than we are. What I've concluded from that is that there is a lot that we can learn from them. And that's the point of this broadcast. Now, here's the thing. And I'm going to tell you this, and I've told you guys this before. There's no geographical solution for an emotional problem. Let me say that again. There's no geographical solution for an emotional problem. What are you talking about? The problem is Black American men and white American men, modern men in Western cultures, Australia, the UK, many of the Western European countries, Canada, we're all simps. Leading the pack, 90% of Black American men are simps, and maybe I'm fudging the number a little bit, but you guys get it. But the reason that they're simps is because they're raised by single mothers to be son husbands or beta male simps, whatever you want to call them. And so therefore they're almost guaranteed to worship women. They apply symptology or simponism by default. Their queen mother goddess simp chip is working overdrive. Men in the West have to then unlearn the worship of modern entitled women and instead embrace self-respect, self-reliance, self-love, and a patriarchy. Now, the term simping is a slang. It's a slang way of describing a dysfunction, And when the dysfunction becomes the norm, everybody's just willingly goes along with it. That's where we are right now. And it's a sad state of affairs. But the fact that you men are starting to speak out about it, that means things are beginning to change. Now, I'm going to take a quick break. I want you guys to hit the number 1 button. If you appreciate what I'm doing, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. But we're about to go into a deep dive. And this is a solution-based broadcast. So I want you guys to understand that there are going to be solutions here. So just hang in there, hit the number 1 button. We'll be right back. Big shout out to my man, Kevin Samuels.
People don't tell women the truth these days. Men get told the truth all the time. Women have no problem telling a man, I don't want an average man. It happens every day on my show. TLC said they don't want no scrubs. And we have no problem telling average men, you ain't crap. But if I just happen to have the nerve to agree with a woman that says she's average, then I'm Satan. I think that's interesting. People don't tell women the truth.
Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds. All right. Rest in power to the Godfather. So welcome back to the broadcast. I'm Dennis Sperling, and we're talking about modern men ghosting entitled modern women. If you guys saw early on, you got a whole group of women on TikTok and other social media platforms discussing the fact that men, not just Black men, but all men are leaving Western women. Why? Because they don't find them to be suitable wives. And for the most part, men want to get married. And so in doing so, they're looking for women. The problem is so bad in Scandinavia, up there in, I don't know if it's Stockholm or the city of Stockholm, not just Stockholm, but Norway, I believe it is, that these Norwegian men are importing women from Thailand. And anybody who's been to Thailand knows just how beautiful and submissive these women are. It's to the point that it's a problem for them, for the government. Black American men are to the point where 51% of us aren't married and don't have children. So that means we've divested from marriage and even these institutions. Go to some of these churches, go to some of the Black churches where they used to be filled up with men in the 1940s, 50s. They're emptied out now. Even now it's to the point where when you go to Black clubs and discotheques, Black men aren't there. Now, if you check that Miami flight from on that flight, American Airlines flight from Miami to Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic, 7 days a week that leaves at about 11:50 a.m., it's packed full of Black men. If you get that all-night flight from Brazil, from Miami to Brazil, it's packed full of black men. Same thing for that all-night flight, that overnight flight from any Houston or Miami down to Medellin. It's packed. There are brothers going to Thailand. There are white men going to Thailand. There are white men who are going to Eastern Europe. Beautiful women in Eastern Europe. Our last president, Donald Trump, his last wife was from Eastern Europe. And despite what you say about Melania, beautiful woman, even for her age. So it's evident that all men in Western countries see a problem. Now, here's the thing. I've spent some time in Latin America. I've been to Brazil. I've been to Colombia. I've been to a couple of places in Central America, Costa Rica, Belize, all over the Caribbean, Mexico. And here's the thing you have to understand. In the Latin American countries, in the upper classes, they have good family ethics. If you go down to Mexico City, you would be like, oh my God, this is amazing, how beautiful this place is. But that's a small segment. If you go overseas, especially if you go to places like Colombia, Medellin, Bogota, outside the major cities, you got ghetto behavior going on, and you got ghettos, the likes of which even the hardest people from the worst ghettos in the United States would say, oh my God, I don't want to stay here. And along with the ghetto mentality, you got ghetto problems. A vast majority of the women are single moms, and some of them have different baby daddies. They're a poor population. Anybody who goes to the DR, if we're honest with each other, same thing for Colombia and Brazil. There are a lot of women who don't have children, who have children, and they're not married. There are guys there who have multiple families. They leave the houses with the kids, and the women have to take care of them. This is it. And the women usually look for other men to help support them. So when my Black American brothers say things like, oh yeah, it's better down there, look, you got a misunderstanding about Latin culture. And it's at the point it's fanciful, okay? Or fantastical. Now, my point in explaining to you all that there's no geographical solution for an emotional problem is that just because you, as a Black man or a white man from a Western country, just because you go overseas doesn't mean you have changed. What I mean is modern men, both Black and white, are going to do the same thing overseas with these foreign women as you do in the United States. Give it 10 years. And there's going to be a ton of Black and white men cursing and cussing foreign women out because you haven't changed. And you've taken your same simp habits over there with you. You have so-called empowered those foreign women. And they have begun to behave just like the American women, the UK women, the Australian women, the Western European women, the Canadian women that you ghosted 10 years ago. Why? Because this is female nature. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to do what you allow them to do. You're going to pedestalize them. You're going to praise them. You're going to tell them how much better they are than American women. Because you're a simp. And you're still going to be a simp overseas. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm not calling you lame. I don't even know what that is. But you are a simp. You're a big, soft teddy bear of a simp. And you put women up on pedestals. The only difference is you're going to be a bigger target overseas. And you're setting yourself up for a bigger fall. Now, how do we avoid that, fellas? How do we avoid the inevitable? Well, let's take some lessons from our Latino brothers and our African brothers. The only difference between the climate that they live in and the climate that most Americans live in are those men themselves. One of the things you have to understand about Latino men, real Latino men, them cats that you see with the boots on and the jeans and the little button-down shirt with the hat. Yeah, that guy with the pickup truck. Latino men like that, they pay for everything. And what that means is they are unquestionably the talentatorians in their homes. They rule everything. Also, the mothers and the grandmothers keep the women in check, especially if there are children involved. Have you ever watched Spanish TV? Have you seen The Weather Girls? I would spend hours. Back when I was hanging out in the DR in Colombia, I had an apartment in Parque 93 in Bogota, Colombia. And I would watch Spanish TV. And what you notice is their society constantly reminds women that they are not the only ones there who look good and would appreciate a good man. The soap operas play all day on Telemundo. They play current events, and then they get right back, or they call them novellas, but we call them soap operas. They will play these current events, and then they get right back to these steamy novellas all through the evening. What do those shows do? They reinforce the narrative that the man is the king. It is only when these Latino women come to the United States that they begin to start acting a little funny. So when you have them here, or when the Latino men have them here, again, the grandmothers and the mothers keep them in check. You're not going to get that in Black America. You're not going to get that in white America. Because in white America and Black America, modern women have bit the rotten apple of feminism. And so instead of making these women fall in line with fallacy or family first, they say, hey, girl, you're strong, independent, and don't need a man. Or if Todd's messing up, girl, divorce him. Mind you, you're dealing with a bunch of women who have had multiple sex partners. So their loyalty is questionable anyway. Anything after 5 means what? There's an 80% chance of divorce. That's why men marry virgins. A lot of women say, I want a traditional man. In order to have a traditional man, you got to be a traditional woman. And traditional women started off as virgins. They didn't pass themselves around for the first 10 years of their adulthood. And now that they're 28 and got 100 bodies under their belt, now they're looking for a man. But that's another subject we can deal with on another day. Nevertheless, those Latino women here in the United States is going to require more work to keep them in place. But that's a principle I want you to hear. What did I say first? Latino men pay for everything. That means unquestionable totalitarian rule. The women, the mothers, the grandmothers help keep those women in their place. Remember that. Now, prior to leaving the United States, there's a few things you should work on. You should begin to understand the culture and also what a true patriarch requires, and that is respect. The respect that men command. Now, we're going to talk about that when we come back. You guys make sure you show your appreciation by hitting the thumbs up button. We'll be right back.
Come to the table with the table, the chairs, the bacon. So I'm not asking or begging a man to take care of me because I don't need that, honey. Look at me.
Few moments later.
Y'all, I'm tired. I no longer want to be an independent woman. Forget that INDE. I'm good. I want to be a housewife. Listen, the next man that has good credit, a stable home, finances is straight, baby, I'm marrying you. Yes, sir, I am. I'm not an alpha female no more. I've learned my lesson. Baby, I will be submissive to you. Baby, I will cook for you. I will clean for you. Yes, daddy, whatever you need. You want sex when you want it? Yes, sir, you got it. Baby, you want a meal at 3 o'clock in the morning? Yes, sir, you got it. Take care of me. Because this working 2 jobs, although I love being a registered nurse, I love my profession. Let me just work as needed. Let me work when I want to work. I'm over it. I'm tired, y'all. So hook your luck. I'm looking for a husband. I'm ready to be a housewife.
I bet you are. Welcome back to the broadcast. Welcome back. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button. You guys show your appreciation for what I'm doing by hitting the thumbs up button. I want to make sure that the number on the screen matches the number of likes. I'm sorry, the number of thumbs up that we have. And right now, that number's off. So I want you guys to show your appreciation by hitting that. You guys, that's the least that you can do, I feel. I do want to acknowledge those people who have contributed to the super chat. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate y'all. That shows that you definitely appreciate what we're doing. But that said, let's go ahead and continue. And at some point later on, I will allow people to come in and talk to me. I specifically would like to hear from some of my Latino family and followers here, and my African brothers here, my African brothers and sisters here. But again, before we left, I said there are some things you should understand about the patriarchy and what's essential for a patriarchy to work, and that is respect. Okay? And the respect you should command. Now, whether you're Latino, Asian, Eastern European, or African, whether or not you're going to any one of those destinations, you should understand how these men keep the women and the girls from being disrespectful, because that's the situation that we have here in the United States, specifically in the Black American community. I believe Shahrazad Ali said it first, like, there's no other group of men on the planet that are disrespected more than Black American men. This is a problem amongst Black Americans. And what you want to do is understand that the most important thing that these Latino men do is that they don't keep these disrespectful problem women around. You, brothers, will say things like, that's my mom, that's my wife, as if you are some sort of religious zealot. But what you're doing is you're keeping these women empowered. No group of men worships their mothers like Black American men. We do it to a fault. And there's, I believe, because of a lack of masculine balance, which is ultimately why many of us become tools of our mothers, and then we end up worshiping these women, right? As though they were gods. We give them the same reverence. You need to understand that your mother was the vessel that got you here. You don't worship the plane that took you from LAX to New York, do you? You don't worship the cruise ship that took you from the port of Miami to Jamaica, do you? Well, your mother is simply a vessel. She is not the God that gave you your life. She's only a human being. She's not God. In fact, she is nobody but a woman someone else had to deal with. And she's not an infallible creature. It's important for you men, you modern African American men, to grow and learn to detach from worshiping anyone but the Most High God. In fact, who you should provide for should be limited to those who are conducive to what? Your mission and what you need to accomplish. You black men are not tools to be used. You're not son husbands. And in fact, you will have to learn to completely cut those women and people off who are toxic if you don't want to go back to that. And it doesn't matter if you're isolated. Part of being a man is dealing with that sacrifice and then growing from it. See, all relationships are conditional, even with your children. If your children always know that you're going to help them, then they'll never truly be willing to help themselves. It's like enabling a crack addict. By continuing to tolerate these women and their bad behaviors, we enable them. Any group of women that has contempt and nothing but disrespect for their own men, it's over. The culture is over. The relationship is over. And this is why you see a lot of modern women who we have not kept in check. Now they're going too far. Now we're withdrawing. In going too far, you see them twerking on tables. You see them committing violent crimes, and now they're have the highest rate of incarceration amongst women. And whereas black men's rate of incarceration is going down, theirs is the fastest growing. You've withdrawn your protection from them because you don't deem them entitled. And in fact, now you're ghosting them. Hashtag passport bros. So this is where we are. All of this could have been avoided had the men who came before us utilized some of the requirements of respect that we see coming from our African brothers and our Latino brothers. And of course, there are Asian and Arab cultures that do the same thing. Now, here's the thing you got to understand. Every group, especially our Latin and African American brothers, they venerate the older women. They do. They hold them up very high. So it's not like they are disrespecting these women. No, they have great respect for the mothers. And let me tell you something. Latina women, especially the mothers, oh my God, they are some of the most forceful, intrusive, overbearing mothers ever. Yes. That beautiful Colombian woman that you're dealing with, her mother is going to be forceful, intrusive, and overbearing, especially when it comes to having children or when children are involved. So what does that tell you? That tells you that female nature is in play no matter where you go. But it also tells you the extent by which those men go through to keep those women from becoming disrespectful. In Latin and African cultures, most men are breadwinners. They will work tirelessly to over provide. Now, I notice, when you see them out and about, Latino men will always grab and pay the bill, even at a restaurant. In the US, in this society, I don't know. You don't mind being a provider, you have to see. That's kind of where we are. But what you have to understand, fellas, is that the person with the money in any circumstance, or or the person who doesn't have the money is going to hold little weight in any circumstance. You understand? And you see what's happening in the United States. You try the 50-50 stuff or the reverse role, it doesn't work very well. If you want a traditional wife, you want a traditional family, you're going to have to pay for it. You can't punish or correct or control people that you don't lead and provide for, period. That's just human nature. That's a hard pill to swallow, but it is what it is. Now, there's a difference between the entitled modern women, especially in the Black community, who say things like, you have to pay me if you want to get my respect. That's a lie. Men are entitled to respect solely because they are men. Even little boys in Latin American countries get respect. Their mother serves them and praises them. Their sisters serve them and praise them. All the women of the family serve and praise these little boys. So even a little small child, the sole reason, even he is entitled to respect simply because he is male. The reason is because women are entitled to protection. See, there's provision and there's protection. If you want protection, you're going to have to provide respect to these men unconditionally. You want unconditional protection, you get unconditional, you give unconditional respect. That's how that goes. Now, modern men, including Black American men, we provide when it's worth it to us. Now, the problem is there are many men who are out here providing and they're being taken to child support court. They're getting robbed in family court for alimony. And they get divorced when these entitled modern women get bored and say, you know, she's not having any fun anymore. The relationship is getting stale. Or she just decides she wants to get back on the Rooster roller coaster and get some new D in her life. See, you shouldn't have to pay for anyone, fellas, unless she's a prostitute. And if that's the case, it's purely transactional, you know, and you basically pay her to leave, as the old fella say. If you find a woman who requires that you pay for her services, she has the wrong frame of mind altogether. And that's not the type of woman you want to be with. That type of woman doesn't even have respect for herself. So when you see modern women, entitled women saying, oh, you need to pay for respect, you need to pay for that, that's a no-go, period. Leave those women alone. She's explained to who she was. There's no need to go any further. Now, for the most part, respect for men and the culture is taught at a young age. The fathers are masculine and domineering men in their homes. The children see their daughters and the mother treat their father with the ultimate reverence, whether he's right or wrong, okay? A woman will never, a good mother, a culture from a patriarchal culture will never openly challenge her man in a disrespectful way in front of the family. Now, as far as African women and African culture, we're going to dig into that. Hit the number 1 button if you guys are still with me. We got a lot of people here, and I want you guys to show your appreciation by hitting the thumbs up button. We're running low on the thumbs ups. So let's get that popping, okay? Let's get that popping. You guys want to go overseas, you're going to mess it up. You still the same simps you always were. Y'all still simping. Y'all just overseas simping. And you're going to go over there to those people's nice countries with their nice cultures. You're going to mess that up with your American ways. Okay? So let's fix this problem before you leave. Okay? Come on, hit the thumbs up button. You know what? Don't make me run a commercial. Better yet, you know what? It's time for some rock and roll. Come on. Hit the thumbs up, man. We're going to get the thumb. Either you're going to listen to rock and roll. Either you're going to listen to rock and roll or you're going to get the thumbs up button. What we gonna do? Barbecue a meal do. It's all on you. Come on. Thumbs up, thumbs up. It's free for the cheap people. It don't cost you nothing, man. Get the thumbs up, baby. Come on. Get in there. Yep. Come on. I can listen to this all day and look at y'all, look at me. Come on, thumbs up now. Stop playing. All right, come on. Appreciate you guys. That's a good, I'll keep getting those thumbs up, keep them popping. Now, we talked about Latino culture, okay? Now we're talking about African culture. Why am I bringing up this? Well, okay, so here's the thing. Black men are traveling, for the most part, to two different destinations. Three. They're traveling to Latin American countries, African countries, and they're traveling to Asian countries, specifically Thailand. If you figured out Latin culture and you figured out African culture, and you get what's going on as far as the patriarchy and how these guys operate, you kind of understand. Same goes for my Scandinavian Viking guys who are traveling down to pulling these Thai women up to the snow. And same thing goes for the British guys who are also traveling to East Asia. Right? Now, of course, you got some white dudes traveling into Latin America. I mean, Colombia has some of the most beautiful women in the world. You got men traveling there from all over the world to pick up wives. Okay. But for the most part, this is a lesson that is universal as far as how we as modern men should conduct ourselves. These are things we can learn from other men. Okay. So let's continue. When we talk about African women, they're taught to uplift their men and literally put them on a pedestal and praise them. While Western women are taught to compete with their men and put them down and to keep their power in check. The elders, we put our elders in old folks' homes, don't we? Tell the truth. We do. In African cultures and Latin American cultures, the elders are present and active in the children's lives. They're there from the children's birth. Correction is immediate and stern when it comes to them. On top of that, the entire family checks the children, the boys and the girls. They force the boys to behave like men, and they force the girls to behave like traditional women. Now, I'll say this, and I want you guys to hear me out because I don't want to go too deep into this. This may be a subject we should talk about. But as far as boys, because that's important too, this is what you missed out on, guys. And we'll revisit some history here. Okay? Roman boys, they were taught from birth that being strong and decisive was important. You guys are taught to be accommodating and egalitarian. By the age of 8, young Roman boys were skilled at running and wrestling. By the age of 15, they were ready to serve in the legions. And those legions went across the known world conquering. The Spartans, by age 14, those boys were survival experts. You could drop them off in the middle of the woods, the forest, and they would survive. By the time they were 18, they were some of the best warriors on earth. These are our boys. Vikings, those Scandinavians, by the age of 6, they learned glima. Age 18, they could survive, build ships. They were experts. They were skilled warriors. Now, what do we have here in Western countries? from the day your boy children are born, they are taught that all males are inherently bad. By the age 6, most of them are obese and sit around playing video games. By the age 18, many are shiftless, degenerate, cowards that require safe spaces. This is what we're teaching our sons in Western culture. On top of that, they're simps. So the question is also, why do these women feel so keen or able to disrespect men, specifically modern men? Well, look at what you're presenting to them. You're not giving anything inherently that they want to respect. So that's a problem. That may be something we have to deal with another time. Now, let's talk about our African brothers. Big shout out to our African brothers. You're always welcome here on this page. Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa. Hello, hey, hey, brother, hey. East Africa, welcome. Glad to have you here. How do they keep their women from being disrespectful? Well, again, it is not a task that falls squarely on the men of Nigeria and other places in West Africa, in East Africa, in South Africa, in Central Africa. The extended family plays an important role in discipline and in the development of the woman. The extended family refers to their patrilineal lines, their social structure, which has a man, his brothers, sisters, and their immediate families who can trace their origin by blood back to common ancestors. The family, and by implication, the extended family, is the cradle of the domestication of the individual in that society, both men and women. The extended family performs the function of educating and teaching the members of its unit the correct customs and the traditions, or as they say, omenala of the society. What is omenala? It's also pronounced omenana, odinana, or omenani. And these are the traditional cultural beliefs and practices of the people of Southeast Nigeria, specifically the Igbo people. How's my accent? Did I pronounce it correctly? Shout out to me. What do they teach them? Values such as respect for the elders and for seniors, hard work, diligence, loyalty, honesty, obedience, discipline were imparted into the lives of these individuals and in the extended family unit. These teachings help to integrate the members of each extended family unit into the larger society in conformity with their cultural heritage. The moral upbringing of the child is the general responsibility of all within the kinship group. A child does not belong to his biological parents alone. It belongs to everybody. He's the child of the village. Unfortunately, our women belong to the village. In Western culture, these women pass themselves around so loosely and so freely. They have sex with so many different men, also having their children. How can you even track the parental lineage or paternal lineage? See, child rearing is made easier when you have family members who are closely together. And they have a culture that allows them to get along. Black folks don't get along. You can't have people under the watchful eye of your aunties and your cousins and your sisters and your mom if y'all don't get along. That's why it's so easy for our children to misbehave and go against what we know is good for them. You need that extended family to punish and discipline those children, without which, it's a problem. In those West African countries, authority is conferred upon the kin group. Of course, the biological parents contribute to a large degree, a high level of discipline and morality, but, it's everybody's responsibility. Same thing goes in Latin American countries. What are we learning here, fellas? Are y'all learning any? Am I wasting my time? Let me know if I'm wasting my time. If y'all just want to hop in a plane and go fuck some prostitutes, you let me know. I can stop doing this shit. Y'all can go over there, have a blast. I hope your balls are in the jungle gym. Go enjoy yourself. If you want to learn something, you want to be able to go over there and bring something back that's of substance, you go right on ahead. And that goes for the white men, the black men, and all you men who are listening. Hoes are for everybody. That same woman that you fell in love with, I promise she got 10 other dudes lined up as soon as you leave. Now, if that's all you want, cool. But when I was a passport bro, that is not what I wanted. I wanted something of substance and something different. I immersed myself in the culture. I learned the language first, and that was the keys to the culture, so it allowed me to unlock the culture. And because of that, I was able to learn these things. I myself have a beautiful Dominican fiance that I'm engaged to. She is born in the United States, but still her family holds her in place. And because I understand her cultural norms, I speak her language, I understand her customs, she can't get out of pocket with me without me saying, hey, hold on a minute. That's not what I'm supposed to get. Now, if y'all just want to go over there looking for hoes, cool. I ain't mad at you, baby. Have a blast. All right? But what's eventually going to happen, what you lay with and what you play with is going to be what you stay with. What you settle for is what you're going to get. We got hoes over here. You don't need to go to the DR and Colombia and Brazil for hoes. You don't need to go to Africa and Thailand and Eastern European for hoes. We got hoes in every state in the United States. Now, if you want a good woman, you want a woman of substance, you're going to have to put the work in. You're going to have to understand who you're dealing with. You're going to have to understand this woman's culture. You're going to have to do the work, as my good friend Kevin Samuels used to say. There's no cheap way. There's no quick way out of this. I hope you guys are taking this serious because I want you to get something of substance from this. Nobody else is going to talk to you in this much detail and depth about these concepts and these ideas. Don't go over there and fuck these people's culture up. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all, man. Okay? Don't go over there with your simping American ways and mess these people's culture up. The link is in the chat room. We'll be back. Well, the link will be in the chat.
Trying to fucking cheat.
In the meantime, we're going to take a quick break. Big shout out to Kevin Samuels. Rest in peace, brother.
I'm tired of you guys trying to fucking cheat. You're going to have to do the self-improvement work. You could be not naturally pretty, motherfucker. You can. You can be a pretty dude. You can be a handsome dude. If your mouthpiece is off, if your hygiene is messed up, if you're an asshole, you ain't gonna win. If you're single and no kids and not working at least 60 hours a week, you're lazy. Guess what? You're lazy. I don't want to hear any more this bullshit about quality of life and life is to be lived. Yeah, to be lived for average. You can live that average C life, that D life, but stop thinking you should have 8s, 9s, and 10s and be eating steak and lobster and riding good, flying good, living good. You don't want to put the work in, then don't expect the outcome.
Hey, if you're enjoying the content here at Dennis Sperling Unfiltered, make sure you support it by sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And also, hit that little notification bell in the corner so that you'll get notice of each and every one of our live feeds. Welcome back to the broadcast. I hope you guys appreciate this, man. I really do. I hope you guys appreciate this. So let's get back to the conversation. We're talking about African women, right, who are usually not disrespectful to their men, and normally they're feminine, they're ladylike, and it's a culmination of many cultures and traditional factors. Africa is a continent, not a country. Okay, so you have dozens of countries over there, but for the most part, these are some tenets that you should understand. Okay, now the matrimonial family is set up is big. It's a lot of people. Okay, and it's one of the most important factors. Most parents, many homes, there's a union. There's parents. There's a union of a man and a woman. There is monogamy, of course, and then of course there's also polygamy, with the man being the uncontested head of the household. Again, the uncontested head of the household. The man, the husband, the adult male in the figure, he's the authority, he's the power, he's the disciplinarian, the ultimate disciplinarian. Although the mother, she's seen as a force behind the man. Mothers, are of course there, okay? But the father is the ultimate head. Do you guys get that? You understand that? Okay. Now she will then report things to the father. They have a way. People have their roles, right? Here in the United States, not like that. Now, the mothers, the women, they're not openly rude to their husbands. The female child is home trained by her grandma, by her mother, by her aunties to defer to men, starting with her older brothers, her male cousins, and her relatives and seniors. Do we have that in the United States? Shout out to my man. What's up, frat? Big shout out to Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews. Big shout out to my frat brother, Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews, man. Thank you so much, bro. I wouldn't have made 50,000 without you, bro. Thank you for schooling me in New York, man. It was sad that that was the last time we saw Kevin Samuels, but big shout out to Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews. It's because of him and lead attorney and Kevin Samuels that sat me down and schooled me on how this YouTube thing works, that I began to really take it a lot more serious. Like I recognize that the voice that I have is powerful, influential, and you guys appreciate me. You respect me, you love me, you appreciate me. And so as you kind of notice, I've been taking it a lot more serious. Before I sat down and talked to those guys, I was kind of just having fun, enjoying myself, talking shit. But, so big shout out to Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews, MTRs, you know them, and lead attorney. Y'all go check their channels out, man, real talk. But back to what I was saying. We're talking about African women, okay? Basically, the women, the female children defer. The grandmothers, the mothers, the aunties defer to the men, starting with the older brothers and the male cousins and the relatives and the seniors. You don't get that in the Black community. You can barely get women in your own household to smile at you. You can barely get them to make you a goddamn plate of food, much less defer to you. Black men in the United States are treated like serfs, concu-serfs, as Dr. Tia Son Johnson says. Okay? But that's the difference. And I get why we are trying to escape. But if that's how you're used to being treated, then you're probably going to allow these women in other countries treat you like this. And I'm going to take a point of personal privilege here. When we hear about stories out of places like Colombia, and we hear how in Brazil, how gringos are being treated by these women, it's not all good. These women are running over these dudes because you're too egalitarian. You don't know how to deal with these women in the same way that the men there deal with these women. The reason I believe my first relationship in the DR failed is because I wasn't the type of man. I was too easy. I let too much slide. I remember one time I was sitting on the porch in my house in Puerto Plata, Torre Alta. A truck came by with beef and meat and these sort of things. And I told the guy, well, yeah, he asked me if I wanted to buy some. And I said, well, that's the woman of the house's decision. So I called my girl to the front. She's like, and she's like, no, do you want something? And I was like, no, the dude was angry with me because that was my decision to make. But because of my egalitarian simp upbringing, like so many of you all, I didn't know. And after a couple of those slip ups, after you not claiming your territory and not knowing what you're supposed to do, your woman is going to be like, I don't have respect for him because you're not like the men that she's used to being around. So I'm trying to tell you guys to immerse yourself in the culture, learn the language, immerse yourself in the culture, become one of them. Don't bring your American ways to these countries and fuck these people's countries up, man. Don't go over there fucking their countries and their cultures up. That's not cool. That's why I'm talking to you the way I am. Because in 10 years, you're going to be bitching and complaining about how these foreign women are treated you. It wasn't all that. And it's going to be your goddamn fault because you were too easy. Excuse the language. I need to cut the language out, man. But I just get so passionate about this. And sometimes I don't think y'all are hearing me. If you hear me, hit the thumbs up button. Okay? So anyway, the senior male citizens in these African countries, that's the oldest son, the oldest sons, they're deputized as the dads if the father is absent from the home. The girls are told off for disrespecting the senior brothers and are encouraged to see their brothers, especially their oldest brother, as their protector and their default father, not their serf, okay? Not their brother husband, not their utility, as their protector and their authority figure. Okay? Now, of course, there's some pushback. If you talk to your African sisters, they'll tell you sometimes their older brothers, the older siblings, they're known to be harsher than the fathers. It makes some of the African girls appreciate their daddies more, which is a good thing. But the main part is the girls know that they can only ever be covered by their fathers, their brothers, and then their husbands or their sons. This is what they've learned. And you don't have to browbeat them into cooperation or submission because they get it. Instead, you use your strength and your spirituality and your knowledge of the custom to keep them in their place. And you stay in your place. Here's another thing. Marriage is encouraged. Whereas in the United States, whoring is encouraged. How many women do we know who say, I'm 21 years old. I want to get in a relationship. I want to settle down. And then you got a whole slew of women say, girl, you need to live your best life. Girl, you too young to get married. What does that translate to? You need about another 30 or 40 bodies under your belt before you decide to settle down with one man. In other words, you need more penises to enter into your vagina on an either consistent or inconsistent basis before you will be, in our opinion, ready to settle down with one. So as opposed to encouraging marriage in the United States, we encourage the opposite, promiscuity. In these countries, they are constantly encouraged to marry before they carry. Shout out to Minister Jeff. And to respect their husbands. Here's another thing. Married women are respected. Married women are taken more seriously, even by men and elder members of these different societies. A lot more than spinsters, who are older women who aren't married. Here's another one for you, a throwback to the Romans. In the divorce, the custody of the children is usually granted to the father, especially if he's financially more able than the mother. That is what a patriarchy is. The child belongs to the man and his family. The child carries the father's name, or the father's ancestral name. Doesn't that make sense? And let me tell you something else, fellas. Men, fathers who run out on their families, men who abandon their matrimonial duties and obligations, they're treated like scum, and they're treated like they're unmanly. So society treats them bad. Shout out to my African brothers. Now, I'm going to say something that's going to piss y'all off. But do you see why our African family says don't fuck with them Americans when you get over there, leave them black Americans alone? Because we ain't got shit like this. If we had some of this, we wouldn't be where we are right now. Matter of fact, we'd be like we was back in the 50s. We don't have this. So how are you getting pissed off at our African brothers and sisters who come to this country and say, don't fuck with them Americans, that goddamn culture is dysfunctional, they're gonna fuck us up? Why can we, how dare you be mad at them for that shit? And I'm talking to you as your African American brother. I can trace my roots back further than most of you motherfuckers that are listening to me right now. Light-skinned but damned. I know that back in 1806, my great-great-great-great-grandfather, whose name was Thos King, was on the King plantation in Virginia, which was a breeding farm. So my roots run deeper than yours. So don't fucking come in here telling me all that bullshit. Most of you just got here. Most of y'all just got here. So let's keep it 100. I'm not angry with our African American brothers saying we got to keep a Chinese wall between us and these black Americans. Because their culture and their culture is dysfunctional. They don't revere marriage. Their women are disrespectful to the men. We don't want our daughters to be like that. Many of the men abandon their matrimonial duties. We call them Pookies and Ray Rays. And instead of treating them like scum and like the unmanly men they are, we uphold them. So let's not be angry with our African American brothers. Let's separate ourselves, our African brothers. Let's separate ourselves from our emotions and see from the eyes in which they see when they come to this country. I get it. White supremacy's fucked up. Yeah. We gonna blame that. But goddamn it, our culture is messed up because we as black men allowed it to get like that. We didn't check these women because of that simp chip. Because you're too soft. You love your mammies too much. You put her up on a pedestal. You think she's the god. Many of y'all used to call black American women gods and queen mother goddesses for about the past 40 years. And you wonder, that's why she can do no wrong. You know, in African cultures, if a woman commits adultery, she forfeits her right to her home and her children, especially if her husband is a breadwinner and he's unwilling to forgive her. Your dusty, dirty, nasty heifer of a wife can cheat on you and end up with all the kids. And nobody, and not only will they not blame her for what she did, they'll blame you for not being there emotionally for her. So yeah, we got a messed up culture. And I understand why African brothers don't want to have no parts of it. Now, listen to me very carefully. There is a redemption. If you black men will embrace the culture, learn the language, adopt the ways, I'm absolutely certain that our African brothers will be more apt to take us in. We still family. We just that crackhead that come in and stealing VCRs and messing up stuff. They don't want us around. I get it. And we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You ain't got to like what I'm saying. I don't give a damn what your favorite podcaster says. That's the unbridled truth that I just spoke right there. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. That's on everything. We have a lot. We are greater. We're better together as an African people on this planet. We can learn a lot from our African brothers. We can learn a lot from our Latino brothers. That's why they don't fuck with us either. Because our culture is toxic and dysfunctional, and they don't want no parts of it. And the last thing I want you passport bros to do is take that bullshit culture and take it somewhere else. We're going to be right back.
This breaks all sociological orders of the culture we're living in now. Because we are raising up women to be men. And you are not applauded for your femininity. You are applauded in the contemporary society by how tough, rough, nasty, mean, aggressive, hateful, possessive you are, and you are climbing the corporate ladder, but we are losing our families. I know you can buy your own car. I know you can buy your own house. But until you create a need that I can pour into, I have no place in your life. So stop coming home bragging to me about how much you don't need me and wonder why.
Y'all gonna cancel me, but today marks the day that I will be dating.
A list of things I expect men to pay for if we're dating. Number one, all dates. And I don't mean dinner dates. I mean kayaking, snorkeling, going to theme parks, ziplining, etc. I expect a man to pay for all that. Number two, my nails. I get my nails done roughly once a month. That's pretty good for me, so I expect him to pay that. Number three, my hair. I just feel like as your girl, I should just not walk around with my hair looking crazy, and you should pay for it. Number four, gas. I just think that that's just like the masculine thing to do, is to make sure that my gas is always on full. Number five, wax. I feel like that's pretty much self-explanatory. Like, you should just pay for my wax. Yeah. Number six, my electric bill. Chances are, if we're dating, you're probably going to spend a lot of time in my house, which is going to cause my power to go up. And so you should just pay for it. Let me know what y'all think. Here are a list of...
Welcome back to the broadcast. I hope y'all appreciate that little break. I had to give myself some water. I'm up here yelling at this screen. I really mean this, man. I see a lot going on in the world. I see a lot of division amongst African Americans and Black folks. And don't get me wrong, we have our differences, but like I say, we're better together. Anyway, let's get back to this program. We're specifically talking about our African brothers. And where did I get this information from? I got it from some in-depth conversations that took place over the past few days with our African brothers. So shout out to our African brothers. I talked to some of my Latino brothers. As you guys know, I have lived in several South American and Central American countries, Caribbean countries, for the past 10 years. And so I'm pretty familiar with that, even though I am not culturally Latino and I don't prescribe to their culture, fallacy. I have been a witness to what I see as works. Okay, now that said, we are talking about our African brothers, right? This is the culture that was stolen from us. We always say our culture was stolen from us, but this is your culture, okay? All right? The elders, right? It's a patriarchal culture, and I'm talking about West Africa specifically. I'm referring to our Nigerian brothers. It's a patriarchal society ran by the elders, okay? That's who runs it. Men and women. The elders, men and women, are obeyed without fuss or attitude. And it's extremely rare to see the youth being disrespectful or physically try to manhandle the elder. That ain't what's happening here in the United States, is it? You got young men and women with just what happened in New York. Bunch of young girls and boys beat up an old woman in New York or old man in New York. What happens in Africa if some young person attacks an old man or woman? The other youth around them will put ice on that situation. They will literally beat that other youth within an inch of his life if the police don't get there fast enough. And when the police get there, they're going to horsewhip him like a runaway slave. That's what's going on over there. Now, let me tell you something that's very common or identical with Latin culture. In African societies, traditional conservative societies, which they are, which is something they share with our Latin brothers and sisters, the man will, if he can, provide 100% of the nuclear family's financial needs. So for you guys who want to go halvesies with your women, maybe you shouldn't get married yet. Or maybe you shouldn't get married or be thinking about a traditional family until you can do that. You're just wasting everybody's time. Now, of course, the trend is changing, just like everywhere. It's changing because of urbanization and the imminent influence. Okay? Perhaps the biggest influence is the state of the economy. Unemployment, that's everywhere. At this point, one income is not enough, especially if you live in an urban area. Here's the difference. Because I don't want y'all to say, well, he says the same everywhere. No, here's the difference. Eminism, especially that Western style, radical, militant, toxic eminism, that can only occur in a first world country. The United States, UK, Canada, Australia, Western Europe. That's a first world problem. But here's the thing. In these non-Western first world countries, like in these Arab countries like Qatar, the Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Iran, it's not happening there. So it is a first world country, but not in those places where the culture is so strong, they're not going for it. Here's another thing. In those countries, the media doesn't, the comedy, the TV, they don't overtly mock men and belittle men. The productive male role model in society is constantly portrayed in a good light, regardless of success. Whether he's a doctor or a taxi driver. That's why when you go down to Medellin in Colombia, your taxi driver gets more respect from his family and the people around him than you do as a medical doctor. He gets more respect than you do as a CEO of a country. Because he's a hardworking male role model and he's portrayed in a good light. And that's the way society is trained to see him. Now, here's another kicker. Regardless of your success as a single man, you're deemed as irresponsible. not as responsible as a married man or a man with a family. That's what we're dealing with. That's in Africa. And kind of when you go, I get the same feeling in other countries. But that's not here in the United States. Same thing, and we talked about West Africa, we'll talk about Kenya. A man in Kenya provides 100%. He provides for his woman and his children 100%, even if the woman is working. Period. Now, that doesn't mean they don't have issues. Modern women around the world are becoming more disrespectful because of equality and equity and feminism and these sort of things. Even in Africa, the family is at risk because of divorce for petty reasons. Same thing in the USA. It happens. But one thing that we can learn from our brothers in Africa, and this is a story I heard. African women, African wives, they fear the threat of their husband refusing to come home. If she gets a little too hot, if she gets out of pocket, if she falls below the moral standard, these men don't necessarily always take other women. What they'll do is leave the house for about 3 days. This is what I've heard they do. They leave the house for about 3 days. They go to read a book somewhere in a hotel or swim and let her get humble. So by the time he comes back, she's back to her right mind. See, African women fear their men leaving them for other women because they recognize that they are the prize. The men are the prize because they're the providers. And the women realize that. But that happens when you provide 100% of the money. Okay? Now, here's another thing. And I'm going to wrap this thing up real quick. We're going to open up the chat room and let some folks in here. I'd like to hear what you all have to say about this conversation. Is there anything we can do as we get on our passport, get on our passport game? Yes, there are. Let's not repeat the mistakes of the men that came before us. Let's not be so damn egalitarian and so p-whooped that we put these women up on a pedestal. You had dudes back in the day telling women they were so fine they'd drink their bath water. That's just nasty. You need to learn what I've learned here, along with paying all the bills so you can call the shots, is that your culture must address the disrespect immediately. Okay? You also must provide value and resources to make yourself indispensable. And of course, when you're dealing with human beings, and you're not getting the outcome you want, you got to make it costly for them. Okay? Now, you got to hold these intact. These are strong cultural values that you need to hold intact. It's the only way. Another thing, before I forget, and this is where me and my good friend Kevin Samuels agree. It's not always about, the goal is not about romance. In other cultures, the goal is more about power, unity, stability. It's about cultural requirements, not just romance. You met some girl that you like on a dating app, and because she cute and she fine and her box feels cute, feels good to you, you decide you're in love. That's not a good enough reason. In other cultures, people come together for purpose. In American culture, people come together for feeling. And at the end of the day, this is the root of the problem. And that's why we're in the situation we in right now. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back in. We got some guys already chomping at the bit to get up in here, man. Always good to have my brothers come through, man. Y'all make sure y'all hit the number 1 button, hit the thumbs up button, and we shall be right back.
Peace. You know, I hear a lot of our black brothers pandering to sisters with this good, sweet, conscious talk about how we need to respect and protect the black woman. But it's funny, I don't hear no talk about how we need to check and discipline and control the wildness and rebelliousness of the black woman so that they can qualify for our protection. Why are we yelling so much about how we gotta respect and protect the black woman when she out here wild as F, doing whatever she wanna do, and then demanding our protection? No, that's sucker move. That's some punk pandering. If we gonna respect and protect the black woman, that's because we can check and discipline and control their wildness. Ain't no respect and protection without checking and disciplining, controlling, with love and wisdom, of course. But that's our work as men. We gotta do that job. Peace.
Thank you everybody for your contributions. Thank you everybody for your contributions. I appreciate it. Let's keep it going. Donate to the Super Chat. Donate to the PayPal. Donate to the Cash App. It's your contributions and your donations that'll cause for this platform to grow. Let our voice be the voice, the preeminent voice in Black America.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. We got some great guys in here. Douglas X. We got my man Devin Lockett. Always good to have you guys. And if y'all appreciate the show, man, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Let me see. We got somebody else in there. I can't see him. Aiken Model, you got a cam up, bro. I need to be able to see your face. Make sure you're not a troll or anything like that. So, Passport Bros. I don't know. I know Devin is from Louisiana. Do we have any African brothers in here? Where the African brothers at? Where my Latino? I need to be corrected. If I was off by any means, I want to be corrected. But here's the thing, guys. I see modern men ghosting women from Western countries, but I don't see them changing who they are. You see what I mean? So we're gonna end up with the same situation that we got here. If you a simp, you a sucker over here, you putting up women on pedestals. These women are no different. Have you heard any of these Latino dudes sing these songs? Count how many times they say mentirosa. Okay, liar, liar, pants on fire. So it's not that the women are any different. Women will get away with whatever you allow them to get away with. That's what I see. But anyway, let's start off with Douglas X, man. Welcome to the broadcast, bro. What would you like to add to this conversation? And the link is in the chat room from anybody else who wants to get in here.
Yeah, I think that the reset is like a reset by us going abroad and finding wives so that we can pass down our lineage into the world. So we can raise our sons and daughters and put the knowledge in them and instill in them the righteousness we want to put in their mind. And by doing this, we'll create relationships abroad, which in by a second or third generation might lead into trading and stuff where we can trade with other countries and stuff on our own. So we have to marry into the other nation so that we can do that.
Okay.
So being a passport bro, and not just about finding wives, it's about passing down our lineage and our knowledge and rebuilding our nation. Because if our women ain't with upholding and maintaining and building our nation, then we have to let them go. Because it's our
I respect that, Devin. I respect that, man. Devin, what are your thoughts on this conversation? Thank you so much.
That was got a really good point. We do have to think more internationally as a black nation, and he's got a very good point as far as business is concerned. I was stationed in Spain from 84 to 88. That was less than a decade after Franco died. Right? Franco, kept the country culturally isolated from 43 up until he died in 75. So it was very, very still much in the traditional culture. Now, okay, Madrid is a little bit more like New York, but you still find the overall culture of Spain and all of the Latin countries, of course, because they were colonies of Spain, as well as New Orleans, right, itself at one point.
Right.
you know, they still have that value for the family, like I said, familiissimo. But you see, one of the points you brought up, man, I really want to stress is that patriarchy is a responsibility. It's not only a privilege, it's a responsibility. And don't allow yourself to be weakened by these strong sisters that don't need a man, and thinking that you're going to have one of these Dutch dates or splitting everything 50-50 with a traditional woman. No, I mean, if you want a traditional relationship, you're going to have to understand that not only the lion's share, but all of the financial responsibility is going to lay on you. It's going to rest on your shoulders, and you have to be prepared to be that man.
Right.
You have to be prepared to be that man.
I want to get my man Andrew in, because Andrew is actually a brother from here. His father's an African brother, and he is a longtime friend of mine from Facebook. And so, brother, welcome. Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you for. What are your thoughts on my assessment of African culture? I'm maybe not so familiar with Latino culture, but what's your assessment of my African? Is it
spot on?
Yeah.
Spot on. And I'll take it. So, you know, I'm from here. My dad's from Nigeria, so that's my last name. I'm from here. And it's some fact where even when I go to Nigeria, you wake up in the morning and the women in the house are cleaning my room, doing things. And I'm so Americanized at the time. This is probably like 15 years ago. I'm so Americanized at the time, like, hey, you don't got to do that. I can clean my own stuff. And they're just like, they're so feminine. They're just like, no, I want to do that. Like, we're not American. They
let me cut you.
Feminine.
I want to cut you off right there, because that is what I'm talking about. Like, your father's an African, and so you see how he expects to be treated. But because you've been Americanized and you got the same simp culture that we got, you basically going over there messing up stuff.
Exactly.
And so imagine all these men, both white men who are going to Thailand, black men who are going to South America and the Caribbean, messing up stuff. You see what I'm saying? That's the danger. And I said before, there's no geographical solution for an emotional problem. And the problem is we're simps. Bro, go ahead. Please finish.
No, it's just so, it was like, you know, that was one of the things that I first noticed. I was like, you know, here in America, feminists teach that it's a weakness to obey your husband, to do things inside the home. Where everywhere else in the world, they see power in femininity. They don't see weakness. Here, women want to be masculine. They want to be men, and they feel like that's where the power lies. They don't realize there's actually power in following a man and being led by a man, because actually the person that's the follower gives the leader the power. And so that's just like it's just a different dynamic. And so and I'll get to the point. Like, so me personally, even though I'm Nigerian, I made it to Kenya in 9 days, part of the passport gang.
Okay.
I got a whole woman out there. I got a place. I got multiple properties I invested in, and I'm taking my American money using this new remote work environment. I'm taking American money, working out there, and stacking, investing there, and I'm doing the same thing in South Africa and West Africa.
What are you going to do to make sure, like what advice do you have to these men, especially black men and white men from the United States, UK, Australia, to fit in and not mess up these people's culture like we've done here? Because at the end of the day, we've empowered these women to basically do what they've done, or the men who came before us empowered these women to do what they've done to our sons and to us. What are your thoughts? What advice?
We got to do the same. I think we got to do the same thing we preach to them when they come over here, is assimilate into the culture. You know, don't try to, like, a lot of times Americans go to other countries and we try to push. We feel like we know best, or we're more educated, or we're more forward thinking, and that's not the case. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, they know what they're doing, and I feel like that's one of the things I had to learn. Is like, take a step back and, you know, don't be that typical American that thinks you know everything and try to tell people what to do when you don't even know what the hell going on over there.
Yeah, I appreciate that, bro, man. We got a special guest in here. I'm gonna she apparently is a hit here, and I'm gonna bring her in real quick because I want her to
do the same.
I actually want her to critique this video. So I'm gonna put you in the bullpen real quick. I'd like to let the lady speak on their own. Y'all, you guys know her. She needs no introduction. Welcome back, Anna. How are you?
Hi, hola. Thank you for bringing me back tonight.
You guys, y'all type Anna in the chat room. If you saw the video the other day, you guys remember Anna. She and All About Betsy came through and really, she's an Afro-Latina woman who lives here in the United States. And she, for the most part, has dated African-American men, Afro-Caribbean men. And, I think that had all the brothers in the chat room, anybody who's listened to that video just was like, oh my God, you just warmed their hearts. So how have you been? How's everything going for you?
I've been good. Still following along on your channel and just enjoying the conversations. I'm glad that a space like this exists for men.
All right. Have you learned more about Black American men? And I haven't spoken to you in a while now, so I appreciate you. Here's the thing you guys don't realize. That video the other day that you saw with Anna and All About Betsy, that was from 2 years ago. Wasn't it like 2 years ago? That was before Kevin Samuels passed away. So that was actually a dated video, but it was so pungent and it was so relevant to right now. That's why I replayed it. But the thing is, Anna, I'm glad you're here. I want you to look at this video. You are of Afro-Caribbean descent, specifically Afro-Latina. So I want you to take a look at this, and I want you to give me your response to this video. All right, I'm gonna let it play now.
I could go to Brazil and do the same goddamn thing. You feel what I'm saying? I would blend in. You feel what I mean? It wouldn't be no, ooh, where's she from? Nah, I would be in Brazil. You know what I'm saying? Hey, boo-boo.
Would she fit in, Anna? Just would you think she would fit in?
Honestly, no. I say skin color wise, she'd fit in. Like from the outside, just looking at her, yes, she could be an Afro-Brazilian woman. But just the mannerisms and the gestures and what actually is going to come out of her mouth, no, she's not going to fit in.
All right, let's keep
that
watching.
goes with any American too, but especially her.
Let's continue watching this very interesting clip.
Portuguese, you know what I'm saying? Bitch, get on somewhere with this shit. Y'all gonna be mad because we about to cock block on y'all asses. Y'all passport bros. I get it. Y'all thought y'all was gonna be going down to Brazil. You thought you was gonna be in the Dominican Republic.
She said we thought we was gonna be going down to the Dominican Republic. So you actually are from the Dominican Republic, right? Is that the proper way to say Dominican Republic? I never heard it pronounced. So she said
there's a lot of improper things about this woman.
All right, let's just look at the rest of the clip. I mean, this is probably the only reaction video you're gonna see from me. But I got an authentic Dominican woman, who's a well-educated woman who can talk about this.
It's taking these pictures, trying to throw it in our face about how fine their women are. Excuse me, sir. We know they fine. We seen their men. Now you really about to be mad.
All right, now Anna, I want you to tell the truth. I've been to the Dominican Republic. Much love to my homeboys in the DR. Okay, I got a lot of love for you. I got a lot of love for them, but I don't think Dominican men would even say, by American standards, they would be considered what this woman thinks is fine. Like when I go down there, I see a lot of polo shirts. Okay, I see a lot of pot bellies from eating a lot of mango. I see a lot of hardworking guys. You see what I mean? But I don't think that they would. We're not talking about like, we're not talking about these guys who spend 8 hours a day in the gym, are we?
Yeah, and that's rare.
That's
the minority of men.
That's the minority. So when so to me, it would appear that this woman has never been to the DR, because if she knew, now the women are fine, and I think I explained earlier why the women have to be fine, because they know you got to compete with the weather girl on TV. But let's finish listening to this lovely lady speak. We're gonna check it out.
You and bitch will be mad. Because guess what the Black American woman is going to do? Bitch, fuck them. We about to take you, nigga. Come on, boo-boo. You want to go back to America? Fuck them. Keep them. Yeah, so guess what? We'll do a trade. We will do a trade. Y'all will be mad as a bitch. Y'all will be mad as a
All right, so you've had an opportunity to look at that little clip. Can you please tell me your overall thoughts as a Dominican woman, educated woman who's not only versed in the culture but understands American culture, educated? Tell us your thoughts on this young African American woman's assessment. Towards the end, she said she was going to come to the DR and steal all of your men and ask them if they wanted a passport and come to the U.S. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's quite comical, especially just from the earlier part of the video where her attempt at speaking Portuguese was just saying Portuguese with a little accent on it.
Portuguese.
So,
Right.
it's like you can't really carry yourself in a country like that if you don't actually have a deeper understanding of the culture, let alone the language. So, and I also think that she's coming at it from a very masculine perspective. Like, she thinks that she can go to a different country and do what men do. Like, an American man doesn't have to learn how to speak Spanish to be able to meet women and do what he wants to do with the woman down there because he's a man. But it's very different for a woman traveling overseas, and Latino men living in those countries, like, they don't really care for American women. They appreciate the women that they have there. And I also think that in the culture, if there is a man who's willing to be brought back to the States by an American woman, or just brought to the States in the first place by an American woman, there's no honor and dignity for that. To be like basically a foreign bride for an American woman, that's seen as very emasculating. So even if she were to go there and find a man that she likes and want to marry him or bring him back to the States with her, she would be finding a very effeminate or emasculated man. And so she would run into the same issues that Black American women complain about now, about not having masculine men, not having men who want to be providers or protectors. How is it going to fix your problem to go to a different country and get a man who's not going to be a U.S. citizen?
So again, as I've been saying, there's no geographical solution for an emotional problem. You manly chicks who are over there, it's not going to work for you, because you're going to be manly over there and attract effeminate men, just like you manly over here and you got dudes here that you don't want. But Miss Anna, I'm not going to hold you up too long. You've already established you got other stuff to do, but I wanted you to come in and give a critique. You're a hit. You're welcome back anytime. I'm going to try to get you and All About Betsy back in here sometime, but thank you so much. You have a great evening. Thank you so much. Let's give a hand to all of Miss Anna. Thank you so much, Anna.
Have a great night.
All right. You too. So we'll bring the fellas back in here. Fellas, you heard it out of the mouth of an authentic Dominican woman. We said, they ain't going for that. They ain't going for that. But here's what we're going to do. Akin, Akin, I appreciate you, brother. Did I pronounce your name correctly? Akin?
Yeah, it's Akin.
Akin.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your heritage.
So I'm Nigerian.
Okay, good, good.
I was born in the U.S., but I grew up in Nigeria. My parents moved back to Nigeria, so I have a lot of Nigerian culture and roots in me, and I go back twice a year because I have land and a condo there that I manage. So everything that you said is spot on. Everything that American women are doing here doesn't fly over there. It doesn't fly. We won't. Men just won't buy it. You'll be out of the house. You can't call the police. You're not paying child support. You're not getting that. You're not, all the masculinity that's happening. Like I put it in the chat, American women are the most disrespectful women in the world. I've been to Spain. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I want to, and see, here's something that's going on right now. Like in my culture as a Black American, unfortunately, we've been sold on the victim mentality. What do I mean by that? What I mean is we were the same people that came up out of slavery and built 160 HBCUs. We're the same group of people that came up out of slavery and had our own towns, and we had Black Wall Streets and hundreds and thousands, literally thousands of little Black towns around the country. When we came out of slavery, we did not have a victim mentality. You see, somewhere between the end of slavery, when we did all that building and all that construction and with the most married group of people in America up until 1955, from 1955 until where we are right now, we got this victim mentality and everybody is picking on us in our minds. You understand? Now that's not across the board because you've been around America, you've met other Black men like myself who are go-getters. No matter what's in front of me, I'm gonna make it happen. You see, you've met brothers like that. You probably went to school with them, probably had professors like that. But unfortunately, that is a small percentage. Now, what I'm getting at this. Right now, I'm trying to explain to my African American brothers the reason that our African brothers and our Latino brothers and every goddamn body else that comes to this country wants to separate from us. And hell, even some of our own brothers and sisters want to separate from a certain sect of the Black American community is because the culture is toxic.
Yes.
And see, here's the thing. You can't tell motherfuckers that because they so goddamn sick. You see what I mean? You can't tell them. But see, I don't care what they think. See, these Black men wouldn't be leaving this country if it was so good.
Mm-hmm.
See, we can't keep saying, oh, we got all these accomplishments, this, that, and the other, but then we bailing on these motherfuckers, man. You understand? I want everybody, because see, I gotta talk to my people in the language in which they can understand. On one hand, we passport bros. On the other, and we complain about the culture that we have here. On the other hand, we're angry with our African brothers and our Latino members of society and Arab and Asian when they don't want to have anything to do with us. You can't have it both ways. They see the same thing we see. You see what I'm saying? But instead of taking it on the chest and saying, yeah, man, it's a real situation that we need to deal with, we trying to blame them for pointing out that our culture is toxic, the same thing we know. See, I'm not one of these blackity-black, pro-Black motherfuckers. I see shit for the way it is. It's fucked up. Most of you dudes out here don't want your sons to bring home one of these ratchet-ass broads and bring it to your house in 5 or 10 years. Most of y'all don't. You see what I'm saying? So how can we be mad at our Black American? And I know it's people on the internet that, whatever. I don't give a fuck. People's entitled to what they say, but let the rational and reasonable minds prevail. We have a toxic culture. I just read off everything that our brothers, and I mean, of course, I don't have your lived experience as a Nigerian man, but I can read it and I can point out a few tenets. Number one, African men pay for everything.
Absolutely.
Number two, the family is heavily involved in the rearing of the children. Okay. Number three, they speak the same language, they on the same page, and they love themselves. You see what I'm saying? That's the other thing I see. And they got unity. That's what I see. I don't see that here. You see, I don't see family here. I see a bunch of women and some kids. And when you got women and kids, that's not a family. That's just some women and some kids. If there's no father, there's no protector, there's no provider. Why can't we understand that? That's why African brothers are saying, hey, man, we can't really fuck with y'all, man. We're not really trying to have our women take on those sort of characteristics because that's going to make our life hard. We don't want none of that. Matter of fact, they already see all these women on TV with the weave and all that. That's already becoming a problem in our country. And then you got the white women importing this feminism over here. And then they see these Black women getting away with this shit in Detroit, Chicago, Atlanta, etc. And they look like them. So they think, well, if they doing it, I'm going to do it. You see what I mean? That's why this is what we're dealing with. So again, under that umbrella, is there anything you would like to tell our Black American brothers from a place of love, please? You see what I'm saying? Go ahead.
I just want to tell them, this is the kind of videos that I drop on my channel is the same thing. I tell people, you have options. You are always going to be at the bottom here. Pro-black, I don't care if you're pro-black, pro-green, pro-yellow, it doesn't freaking matter. Until you leave the United States, you're never going to get the respect you need or you want or you deserve as a man. And you have to go to other countries to get that. I grew up in Nigeria. I've seen it. I've been in the U.S. for the past 25 years. I travel a lot, but I just feel sorry for guys. I say, listen, get your passport and leave. That is your best option. There's no other option. You can't fix the community. Whatever Kevin Samuels tried to do, rest in peace, Kevin Samuels. You see how they treated him when he left this planet with the most disrespect. They can't even respect the dead. How the freak would they respect you?
As a black man, as an African man from the other side of the pond, looking at how our women treated Kevin Samuels when he died, how does that make you see these women and this culture?
I mean, I already knew that there was never going to be respect, and because I saw his shows. But man, when he died and how they treated him was a nail in the coffin, like literally, and to figure it. And if guys don't see that, and you still want to fix, I don't know what you're trying to fix. Everything is rigged against you. The whole system is against you. Corporate America is against you. The government is against you. There's nothing you can do to fix this. Your only option is to get your passport and leave. If you like Asian women, go to an Asian country. If you like African women, you can go to Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, Kenya. There's so many countries you can go to. You can go if you're a Muslim, you can go to Muslim countries. Those women there, you will never see their bodies. They're covered up. You're the only person, if you're married to her, that's gonna see her body. The American women are like animals. They just walk around with the children, and that's it. When you see a female duck, she's running across the street with the ducklings behind her, just like animals.
It used to not be like that, though, brother. See, that's the problem. Like, my grandmother grew up in a generation that wasn't like that. My grandmother, she was a married woman. You see what I'm saying? She had all her children. She raised her children. We had a culture here. We had a culture that was loving, where we took care of our children, where the family was close. We lost that between 1960 and 2020. That's what happened. It was never a culture that was ours. It was always put upon us. We always talk about how we need to get back to our culture. Our culture was well, shit, go to Nigeria, go to Ghana. That's your culture. But unfortunately, Akin, when they go over there, they're so used to this toxic culture that a lot of them run right back to the United States, especially the women, because they can't take the requirements and the restrictions that's put upon them. You see what I'm saying? It's too much, as we say, we got a saying here in the United States, it's too much like right. You see what I mean? To have them be cooperative and feminine and accept chastisement from the men. They don't want none of that. This is a female-dominated culture. A lot of the backlash that you see coming from everything, it comes from the women, because they don't want African culture over here. Why? Because there's too many restrictions on the women. They want to be loose. The government empowers these women. And see, here's the thing. I want you brothers to be honest with yourselves. You're leaving because you don't like that. You packing up, you getting your passports because you don't like that. So don't turn around and defend the same toxic culture that you think is too toxic to find a woman in. I know you love our people. We did a lot. Yeah, we got Malcolm X. We got Martin Luther King. We got all this that we've done. But that ain't what we got right now. We don't have the women that our fathers had. We definitely don't have the women that our grandmothers had. Now, what I don't want you brothers to do, and I want you to listen to this very carefully. Don't go over to them other countries with your simping ass and fuck they shit up. You understand what I'm saying? Don't go over there trying to be egalitarian and being cool with these women and empowering these women and mess up what they got going on. Don't do that. Don't do that. See, they got issues in other countries. They got the out of wedlock birth rate in South America is higher than it is here in the United States. You don't believe me? Check the stats. But what they do have is they have men who are in charge, men who are keeping shit in line. They don't need simps to come over there because now they got enough problems, and the masculine men are the last wall of defense. You want to exacerbate the problems that you have in Africa right now? Let a bunch of simping ass black men go over there with our egalitarian ways and not fall in and fit in. That's gonna turn Lagos into Compton. You understand what I'm talking about? It's gonna turn Accra into Atlanta. They're gonna be walking around that motherfucker with dresses on and high heels and shit, like they do in Atlanta. You understand what I'm talking about? When you lead us, you go over there and you be men. You figure out what your brothers are doing, and you do what your brothers are doing. You see what I mean? That's what I'm telling you cats to do, man. Be a fucking man. And unfortunately, a lot of us have not had. You don't even think it's acceptable to be the man that you was born to be. That's where I'm coming from, man. So anyway, man, I don't like to go past 2 hours. I want folks to be able to digest this. And that look, let me tell you something. That goes double for you white dudes. Let me talk to the white dudes real quick. Okay. That goes double for you white dudes. You white dudes have been the biggest simps in the world. What do I mean by that? You went out, the UK, the Scandinavia, you went out and conquered the whole entire world for that white woman. And guess what she gave you in return? She gave you no-fault divorce and took your children away from you. And she gave you feminism. And most recently, she gave you Me Too and took your jobs away from you. She's emasculated you. She's white men. Your woman has turned you into the biggest doofus on the planet. The same world that you subdued, now she's telling you if you're a white man, you're by nature toxic and a toxic patriarch. Look, black men have our problems. And yeah, we some simps too, but you number one on the simp list. So don't go to Thailand. Don't go to Eastern Europe with that same simping. Do what your Roman ancestors did. Become men. Do what your Spartan ancestors did, your Viking ancestors did. Train your sons to be men. You want to be the leaders? Black men led this world for 80,000 years. Before the past 500 years, white men have been in charge, and all of a sudden, shit's gone to hell in a handbasket. That's on you fellas. Yeah, it's great to be able to say, well, we're able to fly to the moon now. I get it, but we can't live here on this earth in peace. That's what I'm telling you fellas. So this is a message not just for black men, it's also for white men. Let me talk to my Latino brothers and my African brothers. I want you to hear me. Don't let what happened in this country, in the United States, Australia, UK, and Canada happen in your country. Because if you get soft, if you ease up, if you start listening to pop culture and all this, it's going to happen in your country too. Because female nature is female nature. And whatever you allow them to do, if you don't force them to fall within the code, your own sons, if you start giving them too much leeway, it's going to happen. You're going to have a bunch of Lizzos running around there. Y'all know who Lizzo is? Big wide back heifer showing her butt to everybody. Is that what you want? I hope not. I hope not. So again, I love you, brothers. I want to see you do well. But if you're going to take your passports, don't become the virus of the world, infecting everybody else with this simpology. Be men. And if you don't know how to be a man, find you some African. First of all, learn the fucking language. Let's start with that. Learn the language. Learn a couple of the languages. Learn the history of the country. Learn the history of the nation. You say you want to date these women. You can't date that woman unless you know who she is. You don't pick up a computer unless you and operate a computer unless you understand the operating system. Learning her language allows you to understand her operating system. Otherwise, you just a wallet and a penis. That's what I'm telling you, brothers. I want you to hear me very serious. Don't go over there messing it up. But either way, man, we 2 hours in. I got my man Fifi Doncor. Is that how I pronounce your name correct, sir?
Quite close, pretty close.
Okay,
Fifi
brother.
Doncor, yeah.
So,
what would you like to add to the conversation? Out of respect, I know you've been waiting. I want you to get a few words in before we close out.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I come from and live in Ghana. I'm in Accra now. And
Okay.
I just wanted to add that most of what you're saying is, I mean, spot on,
Yes, sir.
exactly. The principles that we live by traditionally, and another thing to note, I mean, all this feminism stuff is starting to trickle into this place. People are beginning to learn, those practices and, beginning to incorporate them in life here. And you would come across, ladies who would say, some of these, things that you'd hear over there. I mean, rhetoric that is feminist, and there are simps here too,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
But how do you treat your simps? Do you let your go ahead? Tell us.
I have been one,
Yeah, okay.
I've been one. The thing is, if I look at my father's lifestyle, how he lived his life, he was like, ultimate provider, whatever. I mean, my mother stopped working when I was born because my father said, "Hey, I want you to, and I'm the last of 7 brothers." And my father said, "Hey, cut this work thing out and just, look after the family." And she complied, and she made that her purpose.
How would your father put you in your place when you began to simp too much for a woman?
What happened was he lived primarily by example. And if I spoke to him and talked to him, he would give me the right stuff. What happened was, when I was growing up, I read a lot. That's me, right? But the unfortunate thing that happened was I also read a lot about relationships. And what they taught me, what those books taught me, was actually simping.
Yeah.
Because really, if you think about it, if you read a lot about literature that sort of teaches about relationships, a lot of it is simping, actually.
Yes, my
So
brother.
that's what I imbibed, and I got the impression that my father was a bit of a tyrant,
and he wasn't
from those books.
And
so
he wasn't.
He wasn't. I unlearned the correct principles of a proper man and his position and whatever. I unlearned those things, and I have later come to find out that hey, he was right.
Right. And my brother, the crazy thing is I had to go and live in Latin America before I learned how a man is supposed to act. Because maybe I didn't read the relationship books, but I watched the TV shows and the movies.
Exactly. Yeah.
And these examples of what a man is supposed to be. The Bill Cosby show, we loved it. But he was a big old simp. The studying it. No. His wife was assertive and aggressive, and she would stand up and speak. No, that's exactly that. Okay, so thank you so much. I don't like to go too much past 2 hours. But the thing is, I hope you all are listening to this show. Okay, and I love you. I love my African American brothers. I love my African brothers. I love my Caribbean brothers, my Afro-Caribbean brothers. I have great respect for the Latino family. I love my Afro-Latino family. We are all of African people. We are better together. We may have differences, but there's a reason why we can't come together, because our cultures are not cohesive right now. We are sick right now in the Black community. We have a sick, or should I say toxic culture, and it needs to be flushed out. The way you get rid of a toxin, if you're a scientist, how do you flush a toxin out of a system? You flush it out by putting in a better mixture of this chemical. What we need is a better culture to replace the culture that we have. Right now, our children are running amok. Our families are running amok. The men are disempowered. The women are empowered. And so we need to learn what to do. Now, again, we don't deal with disrespectful women. Unfortunately, the men that came before us let this go so long that you have nothing but rotten fruit on the ground. And there's nothing you can make out of that. When you go to these other countries and you get these Black women, whatever kind of woman you get, I would prefer you marry and have children with women of African descent
But whatever you choose, I just want her to treat you well and with respect. But when you go to these countries and you get these women, don't go with your same mentality. Don't be a simp. Learn from the men who are there, the strong men who are there. You're going to have to be a provider. If you want to be equal, you want her to pay 50, you should be roommates. You don't need a wife. Okay? You need a friend. You know, that's what you need. You need to be the man and pay the bills. You need to be responsible. You need to be the provider. This is what you need to do. You have to, because you can't tell someone what to do if you're not paying their bills. It'd be great if you can have your woman sit at home, and then of course, yeah, hey, that way she doesn't have to stress out. She can focus on raising your children, because what? Family's first. And if you got somebody 24 hours a day raising your children, you have a better chance of having children that are functional, who are friendly, who are respectful. That's what you want. But the bottom line is, fellas, it takes that sacrifice. The other thing, respect. Zero tolerance for disrespectful women. I don't care if it's your mother, your grandmother, your father, if she's your grandmother, if she's disrespecting you and calling you names and calling you out your names, you don't disrespect her back. You leave that person alone. You take away your time, attention, and resources. And that goes for any woman. Now, again, if you just want to go overseas and play, you want to play with the prostitutes, go right on ahead. But if you're a serious man and you want serious things and you want to have a legacy, you want to have children and a wife, you want these things that I think are important for all men, you do that. And my friend Akin said something important, and I echo his words. A stolen people and a stolen land will never have peace. Let me say that again. A stolen people and a stolen land will never have peace. You will never have peace in the United States. I don't care how many of these people are telling you to stay. We don't run. We don't do this. We don't do it. You will never have peace in the United States. This country was not designed for you to be in. They tried their best to get rid of you. They struck a deal with Liberia to ship all of us back over there. They've been trying to eliminate us, just like I believe Argentina eliminated its black population. They don't want you here. Why would you want to stay somewhere where you're unwanted? Why not get yourself fit and ready and go somewhere where you belong, where you fit in, where you don't have to constantly look over your shoulder because of the color of your skin? Look, if you don't do it, that's fine. But you're making it more difficult for your children. This is all I'm saying, brothers. I love you. I love you, and I want you to hear what I'm saying. I have no problem with you leaving the United States, whether it's to go overseas to get other women or go do business or whatever your reason. But I think when you go, you'll have a better experience if you begin to embrace the culture. But again, don't be a virus when you go there. Africa has enough problems. Latin America has enough problems. Southeast Asia has enough problems. Come and be a solution, not a problem. Don't come with your American ways. Don't be the pig-headed, arrogant American like the white man that comes over there, telling them what to do. Go get in where you fit in. That's all I'm asking you brothers to do. Either way, man, I want to thank Akin Model. I hope I pronounced your name correct. Brother,
yeah, Akin Model.
Akin Model. Okay. Brother Doncor, did I pronounce your name correctly, sir?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you so much. Douglas X, bro, it's good to have you here, man. Shout out to Devin who came through earlier, man. Look, I love you guys. I appreciate it. That's all I can say, man. But other than that, man, this is Uncle D, and I'm out.